Welcome to Meadowsweet Farm Fiber Arts Design Studio. This is my very first podcast, and I think it's a wonderful way to begin the new year, 2020. My name's Bonnie, and I am very passionate about textiles as an art form. It provides me an opportunity for self-expression. I am also extremely dedicated to the preservation of the rich textile traditions that have been so carefully passed down through the generations. I invite you to grab a cup of coffee or a cup of tea and sit back and enjoy my life at Meadowsweet Farm. Thank you so much for joining me. Kitty. She's a good girl. She's a good girl. What a good kitty. She's a good girl. Look at that little cuddle. This is Scarlet Kitty, and if you look at the video, you'll see there's a coverlet hanging off of a banister. That's a loft that overlooks my family room, and Scarlet Kitty jumps from the balcony down onto the top of those cupboards, and when she's done, whatever she does up there, she jumps back up into the loft again. This is my very first podcast that I've ever done in my life, and I'm excited to share with you some of the things that I work on. I'm primarily do knitting, spinning, weaving, and sewing, and I'm just excited to get this started. I've been watching lots of podcasts and wanting to be a part of the podcast community for quite some time. Just a little bit of a background about me. I live in a little tiny rural community on a 70-acre farm in a community called Hickory. It's in Pennsylvania, in southwestern Pennsylvania. And I've lived here on this farm for about 25 years. I've raised my daughters here, and it's been a journey. We raised dairy goats for a little while for 4-H. We had Angora bunnies. I started knitting on a knitting machine when my youngest daughter Jacqueline, was about a year old, and my goal was to make baby clothes for the girls. And then I got a spinning wheel and started spinning, and just kept doing more and more fiber related things. Currently I have 10 looms, 10 floor looms, and all kinds of different fiber equipment, and I just really enjoy the whole process of spinning and knitting and weaving. And I currently am a professor at a college, a very small college in West Virginia, and was a curator for Meadowcroft Museum for 15 years, and my area of specialty is historic and prehistoric textiles and clothing. So I spent a lot of time processing all the clothing and textiles from the collection. I've worked on many collections over the years. So I have collected coverlets. I've made samples of coverlet swatches, and I will share with you as we move through the podcast some of my looms and all of my antique spinning equipment that I've collected over the years. I have quite a collection. So today I don't have any finished objects. This is just a test run just to see how things look in my room, and where I'm actually gonna probably do some podcasting outside because it's so pretty here, especially in the fall. So I'll do some podcasting out here. I have kind of a crazy jacket on, if you can see. I'll share with you some things that I make and things that I like to experiment with clothing wise. But this is really just a test run. Okay, bye. This is a pattern that I purchased on Ravelry. It's called the Hitchhiker. It's a really fun knit. It's super easy. It's a project that is easy to take while you're just on the go somewhere. And I've made these in just about every color you can imagine. I have purchased the yarn from a yarn company in Bluefield, West Virginia. It's a small store there, and I just really enjoy knitting this. I wanted to share with you a few photographs of some of the scarves that I've made over the years. The yarn I purchased from the yarn company, or the yarn store in Bluefield, West Virginia. And the yarn is merino wool, bamboo, and it has nylon in it. And I have really enjoyed knitting these scarves with this yarn. And as you can see, it comes in just about every color in the rainbow. This is an 18th century loom that I have in my studio space, which overlooks the front part of my home. And it's in my garage, and in the summertime it's a really wonderful space. I open up the garage doors and it's just a really wonderful space to weave. So what I'd like to share with you today is how I tie the warp onto the front of the loom. And the front of the loom has a rod, and it's attached to a cloth apron that rolls on to the front cloth beam. So what I'm doing is I'm taking bundles of threads. So I'm taking 6 threads, and I split the 6, 3 and 3 on each side, and then I do an overhand tie around the apron rod. And I usually just do one tie for the moment, just to secure the threads. And then once I get all the threads tied up on the loom, then I will go back and tighten several times and make sure that all those threads are even tension across the warp. And then I give it another overhand knot. And here is what I finished weaving that day. This is a rag rug, just using 1/2-inch strips of fabric. This is the loom set up in my garage, and like I said, it's a 18th century loom. And several years ago, my friend Mary and I drove to Ohio, and I put the loom in the back of my Volvo, and away we went. So it was quite an adventure. Gabe and I decided yesterday afternoon to take a walk. It had just stopped raining, and we walked in the back fields of the farm. And this is what my daughters and I have called Cardiac Hill. It's a pretty steep hill, and by the time you get to the top, you've had a pretty good workout. We decided just to take our time yesterday and really enjoy the landscape and the sky. The sky was a really unique gray, and it felt like any second it was going to start raining again. The grasses, as we walked through the fields, had that winter tan brown color. There wasn't much greenery up there, and the trees had all lost their leaves. And when we get into this clearing, you can see there are just a few little trees out in the field that have lost, again, all their leaves, but they're just standing there very majestically out in the field. I had to stop and take some pictures because the landscape was just really pretty. So this is Cardiac Hill at Meadowsweet Farm. Thank you so much for joining me here at Meadowsweet Farm. Bye for now.